My name is Sophia Lotz, and in this video I'm going to be explaining and expanding upon my answers from the essay portion of the application. I would like to utilize this video to further demonstrate how my distinctive background and life, volunteer, and work experiences have contributed to my clinical potential, as well as my skill sets that will help me to be successful as a graduate student. So to begin, as a kid, I grew up moving around a lot. I was born in Ohio, then moved to Michigan, then to Kentucky, then Nevada, then Illinois, and then finally here to California. And while this was hard at times, always being a new kid, things like that, I ultimately am just so thankful for the experience because it's given me the opportunity to travel as well as to get along with so many different types of people, and it's really helped me to appreciate and value the level of diversity and inclusivity we have as a community in Sacramento. I've loved living in Sacramento because it is so diverse, and it's given me opportunities both personally with friendships and relationships as well as professionally to really get to know people with backgrounds that differ from my own. And so for the past close to 3.5 years, I have worked as a behavior specialist doing applied behavior analysis sessions, and through that I've done predominantly in-home based sessions, and so I've gotten to know on a closer level many of the families that help to make Sacramento the amazing and unique place that it is, and getting to know these families that are often culturally and linguistically diverse and different from my own background has helped me to really understand the value of asking questions, being open, being compassionate, and also committing myself to sustaining lifelong cultural competence, because it's important not only just as a member of our community, but especially as a future human health services clinician with speech-language pathology. And so as far as speakers of sign language, I have had personal experience throughout all of the positions I've held since high school, from food service to retail and finally to ABA. In ABA, I've had kiddos that have been nonverbal or have had other issues going on with, for example, like low muscle tone, and so they've used signs to communicate their wants and needs. And then working in food service and retail, I would often have people from the deaf community coming in, and they would, if there wasn't somebody to translate or somebody working that knew some sign language, they would need to write things down, and I could see how frustrating that could be, especially when things get lost in translation, things like that. And so these personal experiences paired with the education about the deaf community that I've had from the American Sign Language classes I've taken at Sac State, it's just really opened my eyes to how important it is for language and all of that to be accessible to everyone. And we as speech language pathologists, I feel, need to advocate for that accessibility for all learners and people that speak all different types of languages. And so now I would like to touch on the questions from the second portion of the essay, and I would like to continue to highlight how my experiences would help me to be extremely successful with the types of clients that are listed in the prompts. And I think it's really important that speech pathologists maintain the education about all different types of populations that we may potentially work with, just because we will be a community resource, and it's helpful to have that knowledge for all different types of care. And so to begin, for the 4-year-old who is bilingual, unintelligible, and has some receptive and expressive communication delays, I feel that I would be a perfect fit for a client of this type because I have had primarily worked with kiddos from the age range of about 4 to 8, even though I've had clients from ages about 3 to 18. But I also hope to work in the future with kids in the 4 to 8 range, hopefully. And so I have a lot of experience with that, but I also feel that the education that I've gotten through the undergraduate classes for communication sciences and disorders would really supplement how successful I would be with a client of this type, because since they are unintelligible but also bilingual, I'd be able to discern what is a difference versus what's a disorder, as well as the knowledge that I've gained about cognitive and motor development, as well as speech sound development at that age. I would be able to really gauge where that client is versus where their typical peers are, and have a really good starting point to start bridging that gap. And then second, for an adolescent that is on the autism spectrum, while I feel like it's probably evident that I've had professional experience with people that are on the autism spectrum, I also feel that this is the population I have the most personal background and experience with. So growing up, my cousin, who's a couple years older than me, was diagnosed at a young age with autism, and just growing up, my family was always very open about it and very educational. And so even as young as 3, 4, 5, I had somewhat of an understanding of neuro differences, and that just because someone is maybe not neurotypical doesn't mean that they can't live an amazing and fulfilling life. And I feel having that experience, especially with someone that was so close in age to me, really helped give me perspective and be compassionate, not only with people that are on the autism spectrum, but people in general, because we all have things that we're working on and things that we overcome from ourselves. And so I feel that it's important for us to really build rapport with these clients and to not pigeonhole them into their diagnosis, and it helps so much to get to know their special interests and things like that. But apart from personally, I also feel that professionally I've gained a lot of experience that will be very beneficial to me as a graduate student. I know that the interventions and things of that nature in the applied behavior analysis field versus speech language pathology have a lot of differences, but I do feel that the clinical experience that I've gained will really transfer over in a lot of ways to help me be successful in the master's program. So for example, every month I need to write session plans, and so I have to think creatively to be able to implement the goals that are set by the BCBAs, as well as I receive monthly supervision. And I've really learned to embrace constructive feedback, not as something that's negative, but as something that's actually very positive, because the feedback really helps me to be the best that I can be and to independently run my sessions more successfully and provide the best support and care for the clients that I have. And that is just so invaluable. And then finally, for the last prompt, I don't have specific experience with adults with strokes, but I really feel that the knowledge and education I garnered from participating in Dr. Lisa D'Angelo's TBI research experience last summer has given me really valuable perspective on working with adults, and especially adults that are not necessarily at their prior level of functioning and need help kind of catching up to speed on cognitive tasks. And being able to see the process of treatment going from assessment to treatment to the progress over the course of treatment really gave me an idea of the similarities and differences between working with kids and working with adults. And it's just very clear to me that it's important for us with all of our clients to build rapport and really get to know that client and get to know their likes and dislikes and things about their life, because that makes all the difference when we make those really human connections. And so finally, I would just like to end this with saying that thank you for watching, and thank you for your consideration for me as a member of the next cohort. I would find it to be an honor and a privilege to continue my education in communication sciences and disorders at Sac State. I've truly been inspired by all of the faculty I've encountered in the undergraduate program. It's just so clear to me that they are all just so passionate about the field and truly advocates for the field and their clients.